Hare Krishna. So today we will read from the Srimad Bhagavad Gita on the topic of attaining peace. Connected. I have to restart my laptop, so I have to relaunch all the web pages. Read all the codes. Okay, it's loading up. Yeah, it's right. So, before starting the Bhagavad Gita, it is customary to, not a customary, a requirement to offer obeisances to the previous acharyas. So we will do that just now. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी श्रीराधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। I need to share my screen. Okay, we will try the extend option. And then drag and practice. And I can't see.
Yes.
So, today I wish to speak on the topic of attaining happiness and peace. So, does everyone here like to be happy and have peace of mind? If anyone disagrees, they can leave. But I am starting on the assumption that everyone here. You can't see the top. Scroll, you see the tabs on the top. Is there some word? Sorry. This is not making me please. Oh, I see it's all the way or can we note there is way?
We need a fix from there.
Oh, there's.
So now it is
Okay.
different.
Okay, in the meantime, I'll start with this verse. This is from the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, often called as the contents of the Gita summarized. So, I will refer to other verses as well, but today I would like to cover 3 verses, 66, 67 and 68, and speak from that. And before I begin, I seek the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas, devotees, so that I can speak something that will inspire myself and all of you as well. So please forgive any offenses I commit. It will be mine alone. But please bless me so that I can repeat the words of the previous teachers. Okay, so we can read the verse and the translation for the sake of time. We won't do the word by word. Nasti buddhir ayuktasya
Nasti buddhir ayuktasya
nacha yuktasya bhavana
Nachayuktasya bhavana
nacha bhavayatah shantir
Nacha bhavayatah shantir
ashantasya kutastukam.
Ashantasya kutasukam
You also want to read the verse?
Nasti buddhir ayuktasya
Nasti buddhir ayuktasya
Nachayuktasya bhavana
nacha yuktasya bhavana
Nacha bhavayatah shantir
nacha bhavayatah shantir
Ashantasya kutasukam
ashantasya kutastukam. Mataji, can you see something? I would like to, but I can't see the thing where you expand the screen.
Nasti buddhir asittasya
Nasti buddhir ayuktasya
nacha yuktasya bhavana
nacha yuktasya bhavana
nacha bhavayata shanti
nacha bhavayatah shantir
ashantasya kutasukha.
ashantasya kutastukam. Okay. We'll read the translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. One who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? So this is Lord Krishna speaking to Arjuna. He is asking a rhetorical question. How can there be any happiness without peace? So the requirements for peace are transcendental intelligence and a steady mind. So it's equating almost transcendental intelligence with a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? Let's read the purport. Unless one is in Krishna consciousness, there is no possibility of peace. So I will repeat that statement once again. Unless, this is you will see in this purport and the next, Srila Prabhupada begins with the word unless. Unless one is in Krishna consciousness, there is no possibility of peace. So it is confirmed in the 5th chapter, that is chapter 5 verse 29, that when one understands that Krishna is the only enjoyer of all the good results of sacrifice and penance, that he is the proprietor of all universal manifestations, and that he is the real friend of all living entities, then only one can have real peace. Therefore, if one is not in Krishna consciousness, there cannot be a final goal for the mind. Disturbance is due to want of an ultimate goal. And when one is certain that Krishna is the enjoyer, proprietor, and friend of everyone and everything, then one can, with a steady mind, bring about peace. Therefore, one who is engaged without a relationship with Krishna is certainly always in distress and is without peace, however much he may make a show of peace and spiritual advancement in life. Krishna consciousness, now this is a very interesting statement. Krishna consciousness is a self-manifested, peaceful condition which can be achieved only in relationship with Krishna. Krishna consciousness is a self-manifested condition, peaceful condition in which can be achieved only in relationship with Krishna. So Lord Krishna is talking about here one who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness cannot have a transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. So let's draw a simple contrast. Present day material world, or not present day, in the past also, material world, people strive for happiness. Yes, we are all seeking happiness. Anandamayo Abhyasa. That is the Vedanta Sutras, that we are all seeking pleasure. But our problem is that we seek it in the wrong place. Oftentimes we equate happiness with achievements. If only I have wealth, if only I have beauty, if only I have power, if only I have education, knowledge, right? We consider achievements to be contributing to peace. But I will ask a question back to you. Can you give examples of people who were powerful but were not peaceful? Can you give any examples? Anyone comes to mind? Huh? I don't know about Hitler's state of consciousness, sorry. Huh? Kamsa, yes, one example. He was a king, but he was always in anxiety. Right? Okay. Let's see, any other examples? Ravana, yes. Ravana had conquered the entire world, but he was not peaceful. Ravana had many wives also, right? Many beautiful women, but still he was not happy, not peaceful. Right? Okay, good. We are going. Okay, any other examples? Dhritarashtra, yes. Dhritarashtra, well, you can see he was blind, so there was a natural, he had a, complaint, like I am blind. Okay. But he became the king also, right? But even then he was not peaceful and he lost everything also. Even, and this is more adding salt to the wound, is that he was advised by many people not to go the path he was going, right? And by the same extension, Duryodhana is also an example, correct? He won the kingdom even through unfair means, but still he was unhappy, right? Many people say, if only I can live in that 5-star hotel for one day, my lord, I'll be happy. Duryodhana was living in the palace that the Pandavas were living, right? He had access, right? But he still was not happy. Good. There was another example that was given, Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu conquered the entire universe up to the planet of Lord Brahma. Only the three principal, that is Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu, were not paying obeisances to him. So everyone else in in Brahmaji's creation, was paying obeisances to this personality, Hiranyakashipu, but he was not peaceful, he was not happy. So, from these examples, you can see that wealth, power, beauty. Now, Ravana was very beautiful. His body was very well built. As the thunderbolt of Indra could not even do any harm to his body. Same with Hiranyakashipu. Very beautiful person, very knowledgeable also, right? In the Shastras, but he was not peaceful.
Even not just demonic people, but even like Indra, for instance.
Indra, okay, yes. Indra, we also see many examples where Indra becomes, and in fact it is very strange that Indra becomes threatened whenever somebody is performing austerity and penance. It's like, I am worshipping, that's okay, but no, he is worshipping, that's a problem for me. Right? So, that is a very good example. Not only demons, but also devotees. Mishra Bhaktas, more to say like that. Mishra Bhaktas. Mishra means mixed devotion. They are doing devotion for the sake of getting something in return. Yeah? Good example. Thank you. So, we can see from these examples that acquiring material wealth, prosperity, etc. cannot contribute to peace. So, there is the story in Aesop's fables. I don't know how many of you have heard of it, but these are like simple stories. So, once there was this village boy, or let's say village man, and he was promised land by a certain king / landlord. He said, you start running, and whatever distance you cover, that property is yours, right? But the criteria is you should come back here right where we are starting by sunset. So the man started running as fast as he could, right? And he covered lot of ground. Imagine a person running, how far he can cover. He can cover miles, right? He ran. He was getting tired, and soon afternoon came. And by calculation, if you took that much time to reach somewhere, you have to have the exact amount of time to reach back. But he thought, okay, that's okay, I will run a bit faster on my way back. And he kept going and going. And it became like 4 o'clock. And then he finally decided, okay, now I will return back. In 2 hours, he had to cover whatever distance he covered since morning. And he decided to run as fast as he could, more faster than what he was doing before. Now, he ran, but the body is not like that, built for that, right? So what happened, the story says, he collapsed on the way back and died. And he died a pauper. He didn't get any land. So people run after the phantasmagoria of this world in search of happiness outside, and that is the problem. Krishna in this verse does not talk about material opulence at any point. He doesn't talk about power. He is standing in a battlefield talking to Arjuna where a war is about to happen over a kingdom. And this is very interesting what the words that Sri Krishna uses, that one who is not connected, that is the beginning he says, who is not connected with the Supreme, cannot have transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind. And those two things are must for anyone to have peace. Udharet atmanatmanam, atmanam avsadayet, atmaiva hi bandhuratma, atmaiva ripuratmana. That the mind, uncontrolled mind, is the greatest enemy, and the controlled mind is the biggest friend. So our biggest enemy and biggest friend lives within ourselves. We don't have to look for enemies outside. We don't have to look for friends outside. It's there within us. So, in this verse, he doesn't talk about material opulence at all. But people are running mad after this. There is a story of a certain big wealthy woman, and she had a servant also. Once both of them got fever, and the doctor came. The doctor took the temperature. So he was there, so he was treating both of them at the same time. So he took the temperature of the rich woman and then her servant. So the rich woman asked, okay, what is my temperature? So he said, yeah, you have a fever, you have 101 degree temperature. So you are sick. Okay, I see. What about my servant? And the doctor said, oh, she is more sick. She has a temperature of 104 degrees. And the lady became upset. How can my servant have more fever than me? I should have more fever. Right? But this is the fever of the Sri Srinitaya Sachinandamurti Bhagavan ki Jai. So this is the fever of the material existence, is that we desire to have more problems than the neighbor. If the neighbor has one car, I want 2 cars. If he is having 3 houses, I want 4 houses. Like that, there is competition, enviousness is there. And that doesn't, it's not that when one gets 4 houses, one is happy. No. One is saying, oh, that person has 5 houses, I should have 6 houses. Like that, there is competition. And in effect, what happens is the person is never satisfied. Right? Krishna says in the Gita that Kamayeda Krodayesha Rajoguna Samudbhava Mahashano Mahapapma Vidiyenam Iha Vairina. The biggest enemy is lust, which is never satiated and which burns like fire. So if you have fire inside, how would you cool it? Right? It burns from within. So in this verse, Lord Krishna talks about transcendental intelligence. Now, I don't know if I can see if I can go. Yeah. So this is Lord Vishnu speaking to Brahmaji in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, 9th chapter, verse 34. Vrute artam yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta cha atmani tad vidhyat atmano mayam yatha abhaso yatha tamaha. So the translation is, O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. This is very important. Whatever appears to be of any value, if it is not in relation with the Supreme Lord, has no reality. Know it as my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness. So, anything that is of value needs to be connected, to be seen in relation with Krishna. The peace formula in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna states, what is the verse, anyone knows? 529? Bhoktaram. Jai, can you see the translation also?
When you see benefactor, when you sees me as the benefactor of all the beneficence and austerity, and the proprietor of all the material, all the creations, mostly.
No, there is a third one. Is the Suhridam, is the eternal friend of all living entities, one who attains peace. Yes, that Srila Prabhupada called as the peace formula. One who knows me as the proprietor of all the material and spiritual worlds, the beneficiary of all austerities and penances, and the eternal friend of all living entities. Suhrit. Suhrit means not just friend. English is very limited. Sanskrit is very complicated language. There are words. There is mitra, there is bandhu, there is suhrita. Suhrit means one who knows your heart. If your friend knows what's in your heart and behaves knowing that person you don't even have to tell him. Right? Krishna is that person. Suhrit. And he is the well-wishing friend. He is not just a friend, oh, he is my friend, he is connected to me on Facebook, we chat occasionally. No. He is the well-wishing friend. So that is Krishna. And Krishna understands what is in our heart. So, let's go back to the verse. Yes. So, this is the condition for peace. Now let's read the next verse where Lord Krishna talks about a criteria for this. Indriyanam hi charakam, please repeat. Yanmano anuvidyate tadasya harati prajñam vayurnavam ivambhasi. Let's read the translation. As a strong wind sweeps away a boat on the water, even one of the roving senses on which the mind focuses can carry away a mind-enhanced intelligence. Very interesting statement. Even one of the roving senses, all it takes is one. So on which the mind focuses. Again, the importance of mind is being talked about. So the purport is short, but very, again, Srila Prabhupada starts with this statement, unless all of the senses are engaged in the service of the Lord, even one of them engaged in sense gratification can deviate the devotee from the path of transcendental advancement. This is a very strong statement, but very true. Unless all of the senses are engaged in the service of the Lord, even one of them engaged in sense gratification can deviate the devotee from the path of transcendental advancement. As mentioned in the life of Maharaj Ambarisha, all of the senses must be engaged in Krishna consciousness, for that is the correct technique for controlling the mind. So in the previous verse, there was three things that was mentioned. One is connection to the Supreme. Second is steady mind, transcendental intelligence. Three things. And here we see one aspect called control of the senses. So, Shraddhaval labade param tatpara samyatendriyaha jnanam labdva param shantim achirenadi gacchati. This is from chapter 4. Yes, this verse 4, chapter 4, verse 39. Yes. Jnanam labdva param shantim. Again, the word shanti, peace, is the achirenadi gacchati. So the translation is, a faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge, and having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. Coming back to our topic, which is attaining peace. What is the criteria being set here? Who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge, he is after knowledge, and who subdues his senses is eligible. Right? And in this purport, Srila Prabhupada makes a very interesting statement that I want to read. Such knowledge in Krishna consciousness can be achieved by a faithful person who believes firmly in Krishna. One is called a faithful man who thinks that simply by acting in Krishna consciousness, he can attain the highest perfection. This faith is attained by the discharge of devotional service and by chanting, please repeat, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, which cleanses one's heart of all material dirt. Now this is very interesting statement by Srila Prabhupada. Over and above this, one should control the senses. Even above the chanting of Hare Krishna. Over and above this. A person who is faithful to Krishna and who controls the senses can easily attain perfection in the knowledge of Krishna consciousness without delay. Srila Prabhupada compared that sense gratification and Krishna consciousness go ill together. You cannot have both. You cannot think that I can engage in sense gratification and also be Krishna conscious. It is not possible. Spiritual and materialistic life are diametric opposites. It is not that spiritual life is full of sorrows. Let's be clear on that. Ramante yogino anante satyanande chidatmane iti ramavade nashau param brahma vidiyate. Ramante. Spiritual life is full of pleasure. Right? It says in the Padma Puran that the yogis get the highest pleasure by meditating on the Lord, hence the Lord is known as Rama. The name Rama means the abode of all pleasure. But that's a pleasure that cannot even be measured by devatas. So here this verse says, and the purport Srila Prabhupada says, that one is called a faithful man who thinks that simply by acting in Krishna consciousness he can attain the highest perfection. Shraddha Shabde Vishwasa Kare Ye Sudrid Nishchay Krishna Bhakti Kare Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. Let me pull up that verse. This is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Right? What is the translation? Krishna Bhakti Kare Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. Shraddha is confident, firm faith that by rendering transcendental loving service to Krishna, one automatically performs all subsidiary activities. Such faith is favorable to the discharge of devotional service. So one has that firm faith and acts in that faith. Then Krishna will take care of everything. And time again this has been demonstrated. We learn from the life of the great devotees this fact. Take the example of the Pandavas. The Pandavas had an army which was numerically much smaller than that of the Kauravas. Bhishma alone could vanquish such an army. Bhishma, in fact, at one point was killing 100,000 soldiers a day. Can you imagine? 100,000 soldiers dead in your army every day. No hope. But who emerged victorious in the battle of Kurukshetra? The Pandavas. Right? Hiranyakashipu was controlling the whole universe. But he couldn't kill his 5-year-old son who was a devotee. Not even a single hair in the body of Prahlad was damaged. Rakhe Krishna, Mare Krishna, Rakhe Ke. If Krishna wants to protect someone, no one can kill him. If Krishna wants to kill someone, no one can protect him. So this is Shraddha, faith. So one has that faith. That is a criteria for attaining peace. So in that verse we read about, in that purport in the second chapter verse 67, we read about Ambarish Maharaj. Right? I want to pull up a verse that talks about Ambarish Maharaj. This is a very wonderful verse. Please note down the verse number and read about it. This is 4 verses, 18 through 20 from Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th canto, 4th chapter. This is a beautiful verse. Savai manah Krishna padaravindayor vachamsi vaikunta guna anuvarnane karau hare mandira marjanadisho shrutim chakarachyuta satkathodhaye mukunda lingalaya darshane drisho tadbhritya gatra sparshe anga sangamam granam cha tatpad saroja shaurabhe Srimat Tulasya rasanam tadarpite padau hare kshetra padanus sarpane Shirorshi kesha padabhivandane kamam chadasena tu kamakamyaya yato uttama shloka janashrayaratihi. So it says here, Maharaj Ambarish was always engaged his mind in meditating upon the lotus feet of Krishna, his words in describing the glories of the Lord, his hands in cleansing the Lord's temple, and his ears in hearing the words spoken by Krishna or about Krishna. He engaged his eyes in seeing the deity of Krishna, Krishna's temples, and Krishna's places like Mathura and Vrindavana. He engaged his sense of touch in touching the bodies of the Lord's devotees. He engaged his sense of smell in smelling the fragrance of tulasi offered to the Lord. And he engaged his tongue in tasting the Lord's Prasad. He engaged his legs in walking to the holy places and temples of the Lord, his head in bowing down before the Lord, and all his desires in serving the Lord 24 hours a day. Indeed, Maharaj Ambarisha never desired anything for his own sense gratification. He engaged all his senses in devotional service, in various engagements related to the Lord. This is the way to increase attachment for the Lord and be completely free from all material desires. So to get free from material desires, one need not make any extra effort. All one has to do is to engage all the senses in the service of the Lord. So in the first statement, Maharaj Ambarish always engaged his mind in meditating upon the lotus feet of Krishna. How is this possible? How is it possible to engage the mind upon the lotus feet of Krishna? Because Krishna has such feet. Krishna is not impersonal. Many people has the concept of the absolute as impersonal. He has no form. No, the absolute truth has feet. And Maharaj Ambarish thought about them. His words in describing the glories of the Lord. Now this is a king, remember, Maharaj. He's a king. So what facilities does a king have? Can anyone name them? What facilities does a king have? Huh? Sorry? Servants, yes. Lot of servants to take care of you. Yes, what else? Money. Almost unlimited money. Right? All the wealth of this is not a small province we are talking about. This is the entire world. Right? All the resources is there at your disposal. Yes, what else?
Power to dictate.
Power to dictate, yes. The king's words goes. Yes, that shall be done. Yeah? Yes. What else? What else? There are a lot of people to praise you. Right? A lot of people will praise you. And a person like Maharaj Ambarish is worthy of praise. But we see something very important here. His hands, I can highlight this. His hands in cleansing the Lord's temple. So, all glories to the cleaners. Right? Those who wash pots and pans, those who mop the floor of the Lord's temple. This is Maharaj Ambarish. He is washing the temple of Lord Krishna. He could say to his servants, hey, you go and do. You do this, like that. No, he personally cleansed the Lord's temple. This is why Maharaj Ambarish was never a victim to sense gratification. He was always purified because he engaged in all these services. There are 9 forms of devotional service. It is said that Maharaj Ambarish perfected all 9 of them. Very elevated example. Other services that he did, that is very dear to us also. His tongue in tasting the Lord's Prasad. Right? We all like to taste Prasad. Yes? But occasionally, something from outside. A little bit extra. Maybe it's not being made at home. We should try it out now. No. Maharaj Ambarish had lot of cooks. He could ask any of them. But he would have tasted only Krishna Prasad. Very important. The importance of Krishna Prasad is very important. Yajnashishtashanas santo muchyante sarvakil vishay gunjante tva agham papa ye pachanti atmakarana. That one should taste only food that has been offered in sacrifice to the Supreme Lord, Yajnashishta, and take that remnants. Gunjante tva agham papa ye pachanti atmakarana. Any food that is prepared with the intent of self-enjoyment, sense gratification, that person verily eats only sin. So as much as possible, in fact, one should always try to eat only Krishna Prasad. Not that I buy bread from the store and then offer it to Krishna and then it becomes Prasad. No. The consciousness of the preparer goes into the food. So as much as possible, try to make everything at home. Now in some circumstances, it may not be possible, like you are traveling. You are going to conference or something. Right? But even then, one can make attempts. to prepare prasad, or have simple fruit salad, etc. Right? But here we can see what is the ideal. Our aim should not be to bring down the ideals. We should come up to that level, right? Then only it will be effective. So here it says that he engaged his head in bowing down before the Lord, right? Bowing down. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Krishna says mam namaskuru. If you cannot do anything else, just pay obeisances. Devotional service. If one does this, then one will not be, what does it say? This is the way to increase attachment for the Lord and be completely free from all material desires. And if one can be free from material desires, then one can be peaceful, one can be happy. Yes? So, control of the senses is the, how one controls the senses, what is the austerity we do in this age, right? Oftentimes people think that austerity means one has to go to the forest, sit there, close one's eyes and sit and meditate without food or drink or anything for thousands of years. That is austerity. No. Austerity for this age is, in fact, in the 18th chapter of the Gita, Krishna talks about austerity, the different modes of austerity also. But the austerity for this age is very simple. Eat only Krishna Prasad. Hear only about Krishna. See only about Krishna. Talk about Krishna. Chant Krishna's holy names. This is austerity. Tapasya. Chant always Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Iti Shodashaka Namani Kalikalmashanashanam Matta Paratropayam Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. This is Lord Brahma saying in the Kalisantarana Upanishad, this comes, where he says the chanting of the 16 words, Iti Shodashaka Namani Kali Kalmasha Nashanam. It destroys all the ill effects of Kali Yuga. And he goes on to say, Matta Parataropayam Sarva Vedeshana Drishyate. He says there is no other way in the entire Vedic literature. So it is Brahmaji speaking, he is saying, been there, done that. I have done the research, so you don't bother doing the research. I have studied the entire Vedic literatures. The chanting of these holy names is the way for the age of Kali. So this is the way. Yes. So this should be a take-home message. Yes. That try to serve Krishna by chanting his holy names. Eat only Krishna Prasad. Serve the devotees. Hear about Krishna. Talk about Krishna. Right? Then everything else will be taken care of. Automatically, as I read in that purport, Krishna consciousness is a self-manifested condition. Automatically it will happen. If you engage in these things, automatically one will attain peace. So, one can try to do this. I will quote one example from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is when Advaita Acharya hosted Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, and he had prepared a very wonderful feast for them. So, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu entered the house of Advaita Acharya, it says, Dui Prabhu laye Acharya gahe tare Prasade dekhe Ananda antare. That Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu Dui Prabhu became so happy seeing the preparations Advaita Acharya had made. And then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made a statement. Aiche annaje Krishna ke karaye bhojan janme janme shire dharu tahara charan. If one can feed Krishna such Krishna karaye bhojan, if one can offer Krishna such prasad, janme janme shire dharu, birth after birth I will carry that person's feet upon my head. This is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saying that if one can offer with love such offerings to Krishna, I will carry that person's feet on my head. So there are a lot of us, and every one of us eat, yes, bhojan, yes. All it takes, before one honors, offer it to Krishna, take 15 minutes, wait for 15 minutes, offer it to Krishna in a plate, with love, please, my dear Krishna, you accept it. And that gives Krishna the greatest pleasure. Whatever you are, yad karosi, yad juhosi, yad ashnasi, dadasi yad, tad tapasyasi kaunteya, kurusve tad madarpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you give away in charity, whatever penances you perform, O son of Kunti, do it as an offering unto me, Krishna says. So we can all try to do that. Not to be whimsical about it, not that we do any nonsense and then say, Krishna, you accept it. No. Always do things for the sake of Krishna. You are doing a job, do it for Krishna. You are cooking, do it for Krishna. Offer it to Krishna and it becomes Krishna Prasad and you attract the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Very simple process, right? Very effective. Anyone can do it. And if one does this, one can actually become happy, one can achieve peace, one can be peaceful. I'll stop here. Thank you so much. Are there any questions or comments, any reflections? Please share. Reflections means something that struck with you, right? If you go in the car park and somebody asks, what was that man talking for 1 hour? You can say, okay, this is what I understood. You can say something. Any? Please reflect.
There was one point where you said that anything which is not in relation to Krishna is usually
Yes.
that
Yeah.
kind of a good reminder.
Yes. Very good. Thank you. That is Lord Vishnu speaking to Brahma. He says, anything that you think is not in relation with me, know it to be not reality. It is only my illusory energy. Yes. Very good point. Thank you. Any other points?
I like the point where, Amrish Maharaj's example where you have to engage all the senses.
Yes.
Even if one sense is not engaged, we can deviate.
Yeah. Even if one sense engaged in sense gratification can take the mind away. One example is Vishwamitra Muni. He was in very severe penance, but the tinkling of the ankle bells of Menaka, ting, gone. Right? All that tapasya gone. Right? Yeah. But we see the contrast. Maharaj Ambarish is a king. He is surrounded by opulence, but he is voluntarily doing all this. Just to consider.
Prabhupada's purport on, along with chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one should make effort to control the senses.
Yes, over and above this, one should try to control the senses. Yes. Yeah, chanting of Hare Krishna is very beneficial, but one cannot chant Hare Krishna and also do sense gratification. Right? Yeah, very good point. Thank you. Any other points?
I love the equation of happiness group.
Yeah.
Transcendental intelligence plus to be mind.
Yes.
Equation.
First thing is also that one must be connected to the Supreme. Then one should have transcendental intelligence and a steady mind. These three things are required to achieve peace. And without peace, happiness is not possible. Okay. Thank you so much for reflections. It is highly encouraging because after speaking, when I hear these reflections, it is very encouraging. Thank you so much. Are there any questions? Comments? Okay. We'll stop here. Now we heard the theory. Now is the time for the practicals. We will have Aarti of our Lordships. So in the Aarti, one should engage one's senses, especially hearing and then chanting. And raise your arms and dance. Right? In the I forget the name of this literature, but in there is a description of the dance that was done by the Gopis when Sri Krishna called them to the Rasila, the dance that was done. The Gopis danced this way. They raised their arms, they took one step this way and one step that way. The thing that we know as the Srila Prabhupada steps. Swami steps. So what Srila Prabhupada brought to the West was the dance of the Gopis. So that we can engage in. Because it attracted the mind of Krishna himself. The Gopis just raising their arms and putting one step in front of another. That attracted Krishna. So when we do that, Krishna is attracted. So I humbly plead, please don't stand in a corner. Please don't be like this with a very tight, right? Loosen up. Right? Let's open our mouth. Everybody has the ability to speak, sing, hear, and dance. That is practical. And you will see, you will be happy. Right? Grandhara Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Mancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
महाराज के निचला कृष्ण विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रकाश का भक्त ठाकुर गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद महाराज की जय, सर्वसंत भगवान की जय, गुरु परंपरा की जय। फ्रेंड्स को जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद सर्वत्र गदाधर गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, गंगा माई जमुना माई की जय, भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय, श्री श्री निताय सचिनंदन भगवान के, श्री श्री कृष्ण बलराम भगवान के, श्री श्री राधा श्याम सुंदर भगवान की, श्री श्री राधा माधव शिवबिंद की जय, श्री श्री नृसिंह भगवान प्रहलाद महाराज की जय, श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलभद्र सुभद्रा महाराज चक्र सुदर्शन देव की जय, पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम के, वृंदावन धाम की जय, मायपुर धाम की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव भक्त वृंद की जय, हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, ध्यानार्थ जगदानकारी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, गौर शीतनाथ प्रेमानंदे और वरिष्ठ हरे कृष्ण और वरिष्ठ हरे कृष्ण और वरिष्ठ गुरु गोपाल के जय।
Namaste, Namaste, Maya. Namaste, Namaste, Maya.
भक्ति विघ्न विनाशक श्री लक्ष्मी नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय। शिरोमणि श्री प्रहलाद महाराज की जय। जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल।
Ladies and gentlemen, in more Kirtan? Okay. So please keep your masks on. We know that the COVID numbers are rising rapidly in Oregon, and we know that some of our people can be some members got COVID, so and they also affected with COVID. So please keep your mask on, because we know that keeping masks on really help everyone. Whoever is wearing masks regularly, they didn't get COVID. Who had even for 30 minutes or 1 hour, they put their mask on, they got COVID. So please keep your mask on. There are a couple of announcements I would like to do today, especially for next week. Next weekend, what is there? Anybody knows what is there next weekend? What is there? Can't hear. Can you be loud? The video? Appearance Day. Okay, what is that name? Anybody knows?
We welcome the deities.
Anybody who knows what is something related to our deities over here, to whom we come every Sunday, please them. What is that? What is that special event?
We welcome them.
This is coming Sunday. We are celebrating the deity welcome ceremony. This is the first, that is the day where we invited them to our temple and we installed them to do our worship and keep our praise and prayer. So that is what the special day. What we do, we put a nice flower clothes on the deities. And the garments are kind of flower and some kind of flower. And there's a special event also. So there are a couple of announcements regarding that. So apart from that one, I would like to also do that Rohit Prabhuji is visiting next Sunday for lecture. So please be here. He's a wonderful devotee, and you might have seen him giving lectures in many places, in YouTube, in Facebooks, live videos and lives. So please be here. Try to I don't know, Mother, could you know what topic you will be talking on? No, okay. So there will be a special topic from inside. Okay. So please be here. You will never want to miss that one. The other announcement, what we have is there's a group of devotees, brahmacharis, who are visiting from Hungary, and they are carrying, they are going to stay at the last time in Vrindavan, and the opportunity is to see. They're carrying some of the books, which is written by His Holiness Srivara Maharaj. So we're going to have them invited, come over here, give some presentation to us and introduction to us on Friday evening. So if possible, if you're around, please visit us to the temple. We're going to have that event in the temple. 6:30 onwards, we'll have that event. There will be a temple by mail. We will send to all the devotees over in the mailing list. So please look forward to that one. And that's all. Any new comments today, or everybody will hear before? So go on to introduce yourself and new comments. Okay, fine. That's fine for that side. Anybody's birthday? Any celebrations? Haribol. Can you say 3 Haribols? Love Haribols together? I know Bhadra's birthday was last week, so he's not here. But yeah, he is one from this. Yes, Prabhuji.
My wife got the last one.
Haribol, please, you want to give your name also? Thank you. 3 cheers to Mataji and Haribol. Okay. Thank you. Yes.
Probably my niece's first birthday.
Haribol, you want to tell her name?
Ivana Chopra.
Ivana is here.
She's in India.
She's in India, okay. Please pray for Mataji's niece and with loud Haribol. Okay, the prasadams are going to be ready by? Yes. Okay, great. Okay, the prasadams are going to be ready by 1:30, I believe. They are making plates in the kitchen, and probably we can extend the kirtan for another 20 minutes. Is that okay? Okay. Who wants to lead the kirtan? Prabhuji, you want to do? Yeah, Mataji, please. Come. Oh, okay. He can take care of those first. Yeah? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else want to? Yeah, please. Come in. So for 20 minutes we can continue, or we can please continue, and after 1:30, please come to the front door and we'll give Prasad and to the workers. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Sing. Now sing from here.
Hare Krishna.